Continuing our study of the Seminar of Jacques Lacan, Book 1, Freud's Papers on Technique, 1953 to 1954. This time we're looking at Chapter 15, titled The Nucleus of Repression. Lacan begins this lesson by trying to say that he hopes what he says in his seminars generally will help guide clinical practices. And he says that on page 187. In the last lesson, we touched upon the way in which malformed psyches result for people who are classified as neurotics. Basically, this malformation amounts to unconscious desires never getting rendered symbolically, never getting to be put into language. No words for the trauma, that is. So a trauma erupts, it lodges itself in a person's unconscious, according to Lacan, and then the story the subject unfolds to himself in terms of his ego makes his own past seem corrupt, and then this trauma is read back into his past. This is what Lacan says Freud was trying to express with the German term, and I'm going to have a difficult time saying it, Neutroglyph, I think is how you say it. This term expresses how something from the present affects a moment in the past. It may seem a little odd, this idea, but it's not really. We can think of it like this. If it weren't for the French Revolution of 1789, say, the freedom of ideas that came with the 17th century scientific revolution would not have seemed like a precursor. So only after looking at the intellectual revolution in 1789 can we see that the scientific revolution of the 1600s was a precursor to that. Only because of a political revolution does the previous intellectual revolution make the political revolution seem more likely. This is how trauma works too, according to Lacan and Freud and this family of psychoanalysts. Trauma is a back formation. A current trauma sours a person's past history, and so when it appears, it can sometimes have the psychological feel of being something that's returning from the past. This is what Lacan means when he says on page 191, quote, "The return of the repressed and repression are the same thing," end quote. The trouble is, the longer the trauma is left unaddressed, the worse it can get. This is what psychoanalyst Jean Hippolyte is referring to in this lesson when he talks about, on page 192, the forgetting of the forgetting. And that's why the therapeutic work becomes so important. Let's stop there. Thank you for listening.